Hi everyone, welcome class of 2024 to the Office of Student Engagement's virtual Student Activities Fair. While it's no longer possible for us to welcome you onto campus on White Plaza with a physical fair, we thought we would provide you a little bit of an essence of what campus life is like. So the Office of Student Engagement is a hub for student involvement on campus. We support over 600 student organizations on like a wide variety of categories. So today in this session, we're talking about academic and pre-professional orgs, and then we'll have 9 subsequent sessions throughout this week to talk about the different categories. And you can see the order of those on admit.stanford.edu. My name is Ankita Rake. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Student Activities in the Office of Student Engagement. I'm hosting our session today. And the format is gonna basically include a panel of students that you see here. They're all leaders in academic and pre-professional orgs on campus. And then we'll do breakout sessions and you'll get to meet all these leaders and more, probably around 30 to 40 different student organizations. And we'll send you a link so that you get descriptions of those orgs and their own Zooms. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to continue. So I'm going to introduce the panelists. So first is Panos Vandris, he, him pronouns. Panos is the president of the Stanford Undergraduate Neuroscience Society and the co-president of the Undergraduate Research Association. Next, we have Elizabeth Nguyen, she, her pronouns. Elizabeth is the president of Stanford XR. Next, we have Julia Thompson, she, her pronouns, co-president of Stanford Student Space Initiative and the co-captain of Model UN. And last but not least is Omar Fadawi, he, him pronouns, and president of Business Association of Stanford Entrepreneurial Students, or what we call BASES. So we're gonna go through a couple preset questions and then I'll explain how you can use the Q&As toggle button to ask some questions on your own. So first of all, what types of events or programs do your organizations plan and execute? And Elizabeth, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure, I can start. Thank you, Ankita. So our club focuses in I think 4 different areas. So first we have a freshman sophomore boot camp. So it's just an 8-long week that's what is AR, what is VR? It's a perfect introduction to this. And you have industry field trips, talks, speakers, and just a lot of community bonding events. So it's a really great way to get involved with the club. And then next we have project teams. So if you have an idea for a project, we give you hardware and mentors, and we kind of support you throughout the year and then give you meetings with these mentors and an industry demo at the end of it. And then we also have a student-run class, which is Intro to Virtual Reality, which is CS11SI, and it's student-run, so a lot of the core members actually teach it, and that's a lot of fun. It's just developing in Unity. And then lastly, we have our conference. So unfortunately, this year, because of COVID, we had to postpone it, but we're really happy to try to put it on next fall. So stay tuned for that. And that's a big industry event that brings 300, 400 people to campus. And it's all about what's the biggest stuff happening in AR, VR, what are the big names in that, and then also a bunch of students come together from various schools. Yeah, so it's just a big collaboration.
And Omar, how about for BASES?
Yeah, so BASES, as I said in the name, is an entrepreneurship organization. So one of the events that we host, which is pretty well known in the Valley, is the $100,000 Startup Challenge, where we award a grand total of $100,000 to between 4 to 6 startups who participate in different categories and are judged by VCs across different industries based in the Valley. On the other hand, we also have another program called Frosh Battalion, which is specifically oriented for freshmen, where we hope to have a team of 20 to 25 freshmen join and engage in pre-professional workshops and pre-professional development events, such as resume building, LinkedIn workshops, and more, and also getting to engage with some of the top VCs in the Valley as well.
Awesome, thank you both. So something that's really important on campus is community building. So what does community look like in your organization? Julia, do you want to start?
Sure. So within SSI, we have a SIBFAM event. So there are a few frosh who will get matched with an older mentor. Right at the beginning of the year, we have coffee chats. We have so many ways for you to get to know people one-on-one or in small groups. And then every team also has a very strong community. SSI has about 300 people, so it can be pretty big at times. But we have 7 teams. Each of those teams have sub-teams. So usually you're actually only working with about 5 to 10 people on a given project, and you get to know them extremely well. Also, a common misconception is this is just engineering students. That's not true. We actually have policy and biology teams. So if you're interested in anything in space, there's a strong community in SSI.
Panos?
I would agree with Julia that student groups are great at bringing together people with different academic interests from a lot of different majors. I think the main goal of both the Neuroscience Society and the Research Association is to show that no matter what your major, no matter what your previous experience, you can get involved in neuroscience and get involved in research, whatever discipline you may be interested in. So we do a lot of just laid back community events like movie nights, you know, meet your neighbor, meet your classmate, meet someone you would never have met otherwise, who's completely outside of your major, completely outside of your regular interests. So it's ultimately about bringing you into contact with people you wouldn't otherwise meet.
Great. I think those are some really great points about how community gets built. How does participating in an organization help with internships or jobs? So we know that's a big question, even though y'all are just entering students. So how about, Elizabeth, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. So yeah, I guess for me, I came into Stanford wanting to do pre-med, and then I went to a club event like Rabbit Hole, which is now Stanford XR, completely pivoted, and now I'm in a lot of like AR, VR stuff. So actually doing an org really did change my whole trajectory. And I think you probably know this, but the best learning does happen outside of the classroom, I believe. And I think doing an org really gives you that hands-on experience of like, what do you like? What do you don't like? You know, how to manage like a team and like interact with people. And I think it teaches you a lot about yourself, and also kind of helps guide you to like a good internship and like something that you may want to explore. And I think internships are all about exploring like what is a good fit for you. So I think an org is like the best practice to get involved with that, to see if something's a good fit. And then another point I'm sure is like direct contact with people in industry. Like if you're putting on events, you're going to talk to industry leaders, and like through that direct contact, you can see like, oh, this is the culture of this company. And like, I actually know a person there. So I guess the barrier to enter is like much lower if you're kind of a part of these if you're a part of these orgs.
Wow, great answer. Julia?
Yeah. So much like Elizabeth, I actually came in with a completely different idea of what I want to do. Now I'm really interested in space cybersecurity and international policies on both space and cybersecurity. And I would never have switched to an aeroastro major or be pursuing any of this without Malta UN, SSI, and the Applied Cybersecurity Club. So personally, clubs have really shown me what I want to do with my life, and also given me the skills I need to succeed in those areas. And I know that most of my friends in these clubs have been able to secure amazing jobs and internships, like whether it's SpaceX, Boeing, top consulting firms, top government positions, actually working with the UN, top tech companies. People in these clubs tend to have the contacts, the resources, and the skills they need to get the internships and jobs they want.
Awesome. Okay, last preset question. How do academic departments support your organizations? So Panos, do you want to go first?
Sure. So Elizabeth and Julia already talked about exposure to industry. I would also say that student orgs are a great way to gain exposure to academic departments across campus, especially on the graduate and professional side. So for example, The Neuroscience Society was originally sponsored by the Wusai Neurosciences Institute in the medical school before it became a university-sponsored organization. And the Research Association is in contact with departments all across campus to collate research opportunities for students that we announce to our mailing list. So you get to know faculty, you get to know graduate students and postdocs, and really gain the skills that you need if you're interested in graduate and professional school to know how to communicate and how to be productive in a professional academic environment. And you also just get to meet amazing faculty at the same time.
Yeah, so for BASES, one of the departments we work with the most is the Management Science and Engineering department here on campus, so MSNE. They help us a lot with a lot of our programming, help us like put us in touch with some industry professionals that we might want to host events with. They also actually help us run this class, MSNE 472, which is Entrepreneurial Thought Leaders, where once a week, a speaker from the Valley is brought in to share their experiences with entrepreneurship. So this is actually a class that started off in BASES, but then let's say left the organization and joined the MSNE department, but it is still co-taught by BASES and the STVP department together. STVP stands for the Stanford Technology Ventures Program, and actually we do host some events together. So for example, a few weeks ago before the pandemic started, we hosted a student group from France together where we brought them in, had some activities together, discussed how entrepreneurship is held both in the Valley and in Europe, and just compared experiences.
Great, thanks. Thank you all. So I think y'all can see that there's kind of a wide variety of ways that you can get involved and get support. We are going to transition to the open Q&A, and I already see there's 3 questions in here. So if you don't know how to do it, you can go down to the little Q&A toggle button and type it in, and we're kind of going to go through them. I'm going to pick questions that are more general that anyone can answer. We're also going to chat out the link to the breakout, where the document where you'll get breakout sessions. So it's, I'll do that first. So it's bit.ly/ACA, like academic, ACA -pre20. So you can just see our office student engagement chatted it out. You can get it from there. I'll hold it up in a second. I have it written down, but let's get to these questions. There's 15 of them. Okay, so how does being in an academic organization enhance your classroom learning experience? How does being in an academic organization enhance your classroom learning experience? Anyone can take it.
I guess I can talk a little bit about it. So just a little bit. So I talked to you guys about like how I kind of switched my my kind of course load. And so like now I'm taking a lot of like VR, kind of EE, like CS classes. And I really think like just being in the org has like allowed me to do a lot of cool projects and have like really cool collaborations. So I think it kind of gives me more excitement to actually like learn in my classrooms and actually apply it to the outside world, which I think is like a big part of learning. And I don't know, it's just like a lot of fun because like we all go through lectures and like go through the motions, but if you really have like something you're passionate about or like an idea you want to work on to apply that knowledge towards, it's just like an extra boost for you to really like get involved with your classes and everything.
I'd also add that student orgs essentially force you to work on a team. Like there are some classes where they're project-based and you're working in teams all the time, but largely you might be doing your work individually. Student orgs really teach you the teamwork skills and project management skills that you're gonna use in any job that you go on to after college. So doing student orgs really gives you those skills that you need later on and that you can bring back to the classroom.
Great answers, and a good pivot to the next question. So these clubs seem so great, but are there's so many, and I don't want to spread myself too thin. Any advice on how to narrow down with so many awesome opportunities?
Yeah, I could start on that one. So I think that that's a great question, and I had so many different interests freshman year, was applying to do pretty much everything. And so I think that honestly, the best way is to talk to people in the clubs, to try them, to go to activities fairs like this and then the one in the fall. Because as a freshman, you don't need to be committed to one club for the rest of your Stanford experience. You don't need to be committed to one major, one thing you want to do. You should actually just explore. And then through talking to people, through going to a few club meetings, you'll probably get a better sense then.
Any other? There's a bunch that are about time commitment and balancing time. So I don't know if anyone wants to add that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
go ahead.
Elizabeth.
Do you want to go first or?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I'll be quick. But yeah, I guess I can speak a little bit about that. So this year I was in a cappella and also doing Stanford XR. So that was like a big like tug. So I definitely like recommend like what Julia was saying, like freshman year, like explore, but also don't like overcommit because that ends up being more of a stressor. And I think like Stanford is kind of like a candy shop. Like you want to like try everything, but at the same time, like trying to balance your own like wellness, but also exploring is like a big thing I learned freshman year. And to kind of like really dive into like what you want, but also like don't end up like costing your own like happiness, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot of things to explore also at Stanford.
Yeah, I would emphasize that it can be really exciting to see how many student orgs there are to join, but there are also so many other things that are important freshman year, getting to know the people in your dorms, feeling comfortable there, getting acclimated to your classes and getting into the rhythm of college work that you might not be used to, just being away from home for the first time, and being on a huge campus where you want to find places where you feel comfortable. And student orgs can offer those comfortable spaces and places where you feel like home. But just keep in mind that there's no rush, there's no race. You have 4 years to get involved and really decide what you're committed to. So don't feel like you need to jump in right away, even if you see other people doing that.
Great answer. There are some questions about collaboration between grade levels or older mentors and friends, maybe even grad students.
Yeah, I can start on that. So typically there is quite a bit of collaboration. In both SSI and Model UM, we do have mentorship programs where based on your interests, based on what sub-teams in the organization you want to join, based on possible academic interests, we actually match cross joining the organization with an upperclassman mentor. And so from day one, you have someone to ask questions to, someone to go to, whether it's about the club or not. And I think a lot of clubs have a similar structure, or a lot of the smaller clubs, you just kind of know everybody across class levels.
Yeah, at Basis, for example, we also have a very large number of participants across all 4-year groups. And usually when the Frosh first come in as part of this Frosh Battalion program, they are automatically assigned to a mentor who's there to guide them during their first few weeks at Stanford and first year, essentially. You know, giving them advice, not just about how to go through about with Basis, but also how to choose your classes, any advice on which dining hall is better, you know, just giving general advice, which hopefully will enhance your freshman year experience.
Great answers. Let's see. A couple about like, do you need to go to organizations that are based on your professional desires? Or do you just kind of explore a bunch of them? I think some of you might have started to answer some of this, but maybe we could reiterate that. So do you only stay kind of unilaterally within like your academic interests or pursue a bunch of different things? Or do you need prior experience? We can do that one too.
I would say it's definitely not necessary to tailor your extracurriculars to your academic interests. If you think about it, you'll have the rest of your professional career to dedicate yourself to your academic interests. So if you want to use college as an opportunity to just spend time on something that's not going to figure in your life later, it's totally fine. I think some of the most exciting groups on campus or people that I know who do clubs, like they have one major that's completely unrelated to what they're doing in their club. And it seems like they're just passionate about it. They might be developing skills that they see as relevant to their academic or professional career, but it's not like they're thinking about like, oh, this employer is going to see on my resume that I did this, or like this graduate school or medical school will see on my CV that I did this, and that'll help me. I think it's ultimately about seeing what communities you feel most comfortable in and where you feel yourself growing and developing, as opposed to, you know, professional gain, for example.
Yeah, and then we can continue answering that if there's more answers. There's a technical question. Are we leaving to go into breakout rooms on the Bitly now? We'll kind of collectively end this in another 5 minutes or so. And then some of us will hang out here to answer other questions. So we'll have a formal answer session until then. Any other follow-up to that?
Yeah, I can follow up. So the short answer is absolutely not. It does not have to be relevant at all. I became FO of SSI, financial officer, and started leading the organization's largest project without even being an engineering major at the time. Not even just not aeroastro, not engineering. Now I am an aeroastro, and I'm also leading Model UN. So those are wildly unrelated on the surface level, but I think I'm developing valuable skills in both that might not necessarily be tied to my major, and that's okay.
Great answer. I think we have a really good question that will be helpful for ProFros in particular is what's special about Stanford student organizations versus other schools?
I think I can take that one with BASES, for example. So BASES, if you ask any venture capitalist in the Bay Area, everyone knows of BASES, particularly because we have this Frost Battalion program, which is known to really train, in a way, Frost towards becoming like the future generation of entrepreneurial leaders. We also, you know, as I mentioned before, host this startup competition, which is one of the largest student-led competitions in the US. So inviting all these VCs allows them to really interact with us in much more than other schools would. And, you know, just helps us with our reputation throughout. And people in the Bay Area like actively seek to recruit people who have, let's say, been in orgs at Stanford, not just BASES, but like just any org at Stanford, because it does show that you're able to commit to organizations outside of just your, let's say, your coursework, which is already pretty heavy in terms of time commitment. So it shows that you're able to balance properly how to manage both your schoolwork and your like extracurricular work as well.
I would also say there's incredible staff and faculty support student orgs. I think at certain schools, student life can seem divorced from the academic life, and sort of adult figures don't really support you in what you want to do, and it really has to be solely student driven. I think at Stanford, we're really lucky, for example, to have OSC, and clubs are really lucky to have dedicated faculty and staff advisors who can connect them to departments across campus, who can tell them best practices for hosting an event, who can tell them how to start a new organization or grow a new organization. So it's not as if student organizations are wholly on their own, just doing their own thing without any support. There really is that groundwork and network that you can rely on. And I often rely on even other student leaders to help me with event planning and thinking about how to best reach out to the student body. So I think that collaborative, supportive nature is definitely very prominent.
We have time for maybe one more. So let's see, a little bit about either research. Yeah, let's do research. So there's like, how is there helpful for doing research on campus or abroad?
I mean, I can start with this one because it's the Research Association. So I can just tell you, whether you're interested in on-campus internship, research assistant position, domestically or abroad, there's support for that everywhere. I think Stanford is unique in that when you're interested in conducting research, first of all, faculty are very open to it, and then there exist these student orgs that can either help you connect to faculty members, research groups, research centers who are interested in having undergrads like you, and then they see that you have been in this club, you've completed these projects outside of class, not being assigned, just out of personal interest. You've shown your project management skills, you've shown your teamwork skills. And that's exactly what anyone is looking for in a research assistant or in a project lead, in a professional academic environment or in an industry environment, wherever you are. So I think the support for that is, again, across the board. And if you've been in a student org, you can see how those skills are directly transferable to any research work you want to do.
Yeah, just echoing off of Panos. Oh, can I? Or
Go ahead.
Yeah. So like professors at Stanford are like readily open, like more so than I thought coming in. So like reach out, like don't be intimidated. They're very nice and open to students, and just like being in touch with the orgs. If you go to like speaker events that have like a professor and like a topic that you might be interested in, like I totally recommend just like emailing that professor, just talking to them after the event, because that would just open so many doors. And if that professor doesn't necessarily have what you're looking for, they can connect you to like other people. They're like, hey, like my colleague does XYZ. So like just doing those events and just being open to new experiences, I think will allow for a lot of research doors to open.
Yeah, those are great answers. Our time is up because we want to give you enough time to go talk to the other groups. You can go to as many groups as you want. They're kind of going to do like a rotating, revolving door. So go in, click as many as you want. There is going to be a activities fair in the fall. So you can look out for how that will look in the fall. And I just want to thank I'll stay here. I don't know if everyone on the panel will be able to stay here, but I'll stay here to be able to answer any questions. And I just wanted to thank from the bottom of my heart the panelists. Y'all did such a great job. Really, really appreciate it. Oh, sorry, a few more things. Zoom recording will be available on the Admit Weekend site. This breakout sessions won't be recorded because there's like too many organizations to be able to manage that. So, but this will be available after it's over. All right. We will, again, I'll stay here, answer other questions. We can continue to do this, but you can go on to the breakout sessions. Okay. Are y'all all hanging out?
I'm gonna head out, guys. Great talking to you.
Hi, breakout. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Panos. In the fall. So that's how you get involved with Frosh Council, and there will be representation from each dorm. Let's see what else I can answer. A bunch of people asked about how do you form a new organization, and I typed an answer out to that. If you go to the website for the Office of Student Engagement, ose.stanford.edu, you can see the answer to those. Who else? There's like 70 other people. Are there specific organizations throughout the year to recruit new members? Yeah, so in the beginning of the fall, there are some specific events like welcome back events, recruitment events, where people can specifically like learn about being recruited to an organization, but we have an open membership policy. And that means anyone who's interested in any organization can join that organization. And there's usually not only specified times where you can join an organization. You can begin joining clubs your freshman year after move-in day ish. We want to give you a little bit of time to move in and get settled. And after that, there will be time to join clubs. Will there be an in-person activities fair? I answered that. There will be a activities fair in the fall. Frosh Council, I answered that. Breakout sessions. All new student someone asked if there is an easy way to get funding for new student organizations. So yes, all new student organizations have access to student government funding, and can have money to be able to put on programs. Someone asked, do freshmen do substantive work in these clubs, or is it more poster making and busy work? I think they do substantive work. From an administrator standpoint, it seems like if there's frosh that are interested in getting involved, you can easily do that and have a plethora of opportunities that aren't just busy work. Some of it might be busy work, but I think there's ways to not just have busy work. I think you can ask for those opportunities and show that you're interested in order to get things done. Let's see. How easy is it to get funding? Oh, I answered that already. I'm trying to look for the new questions. Someone asked about pre-professional opportunities for writers. There might be a little bit more in the arts other session on Wednesday. We have a poetry society, and they might be there. They definitely exist. I don't know if they'll be at the fair. So that might be something. And then the undergraduate research society probably does some work for research writing. Are faculty members involved in organizations? So student organizations should only be for students. So they can be the only members. Faculty can serve as advisors or give support or help, but they shouldn't be active members. How much commitment is expected if you join? I think it depends on if you are able to, what you're able to give. So you can give different amounts of time to different clubs depending on your interest level and what services they need provided. So it varies. Not a very helpful answer, but the answer I have. I think we have answered, let's see, most of these questions.